Alright guys, so we are inside the beautiful world of Blender 3D, and here we're going to be creating that amazing 3D model which you saw in the intro. Now the design for this 3D model is inspired by my fellow creator Amritpal Singh, so yeah, a huge shout out to him. Okay, so let's begin, and let's actually just delete the default light and delete the default camera, and we are going to be working with the default cube. Okay, so with this we're going to be making the face, so I'm just going to go to front view, and let's actually scale it down slightly in the Z-axis. So something like that should be good. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, now what we want to do is that let's actually just make it let's scale it down in this axis as well, something like that. Yeah, so this is going to be our face. This is going to be the front of our face. So the thing is, I want to smooth this cube, right? Now either we could just select this and go to the modifier menu, and we could select a subdivision surface, and that would do the job. For example, like if we increase the segments, and if we went to edit mode and we added loop cuts and stuff, but that's just going to make it very complicated, and it's not going to give us that great results either. Okay, the results are not going to be accurate. Okay, it's not going to have an accurate amount of accurate amount of smoothing from all sides. Okay, so we're not going to use that. Okay, so I'm just going to delete the subdivision surface, and with this cube selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to edit mode, and we're going to be using something known as bevel. Okay, now I'm pretty sure you're already familiar with bevel, but if you're not, then I'm just going to be telling you how it works in just a second. So first of all, let's go to the edge select mode by either pressing this button right here, or by pressing by pressing 2 on your keyboard. And with this, what we can do is that we can like select all these edges. So just select one, and we can press A to select all the edges. So with all these edges selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be pressing Ctrl B on my keyboard, and I'm going to see that this dotted line is appearing. And if I move it further, you can see that we are adding a bevel. Now we can make it however big we want. I'm just going to make it somewhere like something like that. And right now you can see if I left click my mouse button, you're going to see that we only have one segment. Okay, but we want more of them. We want it to be smooth. Okay, so I'm just going to Control Z, undo it. And next what we're going to be doing is that let's just do the bevel again, but this time with this this much selected, I'm just going to move my scroll wheel up, and that's going to add new segments. So I'm just going to set the segments to like 10. You can see on the bottom of the screen the segments are visible. So I'm just going to set it to 10, and the smoothing is going to be something like this. Yeah, that much should be good. Perfect. So now our cube is ready, and what I'm going to do real quick is that we can shade this smooth. So right now you can see that this has a lot of these sharp edges. So I'm just going to select it, and I'm going to right click and shade smooth, and I'm going to see none of those are visible. Perfect. So next what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be creating the helmet, and for that we're going to be using the same exact cube so that we don't have to like smooth it again and again. So yeah, with this selected, I'm just going to press Shift D, and now you're going to see that we have duplicated it, and we can move it anywhere we want. However, I'm just going to right click my mouse button, so that's just going to drop it right where it was. So now you're going to see that we have two cubes, cube and cube 001. So this one, I'm just going to scale it up slightly, and I'm going to move it back. Now I'm going to tell you the reason for moving it back in just a second. So I'm just going to go to the front view, and I'm going to see that this is it, and I'm just going to scale it up something like that probably, and I'm going to scale it up in the Z axis, so something like that, and I'm going to be moving it up. So I'm just going to scale it up slightly, a little more, just perfect, cool. So yeah, I'm just going to scale it down actually, just something like that should be good. Yeah, perfect. So now we have our helmet, and the thing is we want to cut this shape out from this shape. Okay, so so basically we can create a hole for this face. And by the way, just a reminder, save your project. Yeah, so coming back to this, what we can do is that we can select this, and we can use a modifier called a Boolean modifier. Now what a Boolean modifier does is that, let me just add it, and then I'm going to explain how it works. So I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to add a modifier, Boolean modifier. Perfect. Now the Boolean modifier has three options. One is intersect, the other is union, and the last one is difference. So what intersect does is that if we select this, it's only going to display the intersection of these two objects. Okay, and what union does is that it's going to display both of the objects, and what difference does is that it's going to display the difference of two objects, right? So basically we're going to subtract this object from this object. Okay, perfect. So with this selected, with this in this Boolean modifier, we're going to select an object which we want to subtract. Okay, with this difference set, by the way. And so we're just going to pick this eyedropper tool, and we're going to select this cube right here, and I'm going to see that it has been cut. The way we know that is because the shading has become slightly weird. So to fix that, first of all, I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to right click and shade flat. So we're going to be shading it smooth after we apply the Boolean modifier. So yeah, now that shading problem is fixed, and right now it has been this object has been cut from that object. But the reason why we're not seeing it is because we have not actually removed this object, right? Okay. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply this Boolean modifier by pressing this down button right here and apply. So now it's going to be applied, and now if I move it away, you're going to see that we have this hole. Perfect. Cool. So I'm just going to Control Z, undo that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scale it down ever so slightly so that we actually know that there is a hole for that face. So now what we're going to be doing is that let's actually move this behind for now so that it's not disturbing us, and we're going to be adding a bevel to this edge as well. I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to edit mode, and with this all the edges are selected for now, but I'm going to unselect all the edges, and I'm just going to select one of these, and I'm going to press Alt, and I'm just going to press this. Okay, and now what that's going to do is that it's going to basically what it's going to do is that it is going to select the whole edge loop. Okay, so you can press Alt, and then you can press any edge to select the whole edge loop. Okay, now either we could select this edge and press Shift and select these individual edges, but that's going to be very, very time consuming, and it's going to be very inefficient as well. So I'm just going to press Alt and just select it, and I'm going to see that these bottom edges are not selected for some reason, because this edge loop has basically been diverted off to this side. So I'm just going to press Shift, and I'm going to unselect this, deselect that, and I'm going to select these edges right here, and I'm going to just complete my loop selection. And perfect. So now our whole edge loop is selected, and with that selected, what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control B again on my keyboard. So to bevel this, I'm going to bevel it ever so slightly, just slightly. Something like that should be good. Now let's go back to our object mode, and now you're going to see that it, although it's not making a huge difference, it is making it look quite good. So now once that's done, I'm just going to right click it and shade smooth, and that's going to be perfect. Now let's move this face forward, and I'm just going to go to my side view, and I'm going to align it properly, just so it's like extruding out ever so slightly. Yeah, that should be perfect. Cool. So next up, we're going to be working on the face, the face itself. So we're going to be adding the nose, the eyes, and everything. Okay, and for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all select add and mesh, and I'm going to select a UV sphere. Now this what we're going to be doing with this sphere is that we're going to be creating the nose, and we're not going to be worrying about the segments that much because it's going to be very small, and we're going to be shading it smooth anyway. So yeah, the default segments are perfect. I'm going to move it forward. Let's go to the side view. Let's align it something like that. Perfect. And now let's obviously scale it down because it's way too large for a nose. Something like that should be good, probably. Actually, I'm just going to scale it up slightly. Yeah, perfect. So now let's work on the eyes. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting the nose, and I'm going to press Shift D, and we're just going to be duplicating it. I just press right click so to reset the position, and I'm going to be moving them something like that, moving the eye somewhere like that, and now I'm going to go to my scale tool, and I'm going to scale it down in this axis and in this axis as well, something like that. Perfect. So now to make the other eye, we could either press Shift D, duplicate it, and just move it over. However, the problem with it, there are basically two problems with this approach. Okay, first of all, if I want to make adjustments to this eye, or if I want to move it up and down, then we're going to have to do the same with the other one as well. Okay, and the second problem with this approach is that the distance between the nose and the eyes are not going to be same. Like the distance from here to here is going to be slightly different than the distance from here to here, and we want that to be accurate, basically, to give it a more professional look. Okay, but by the way, just save your project. So for that, we're going to be using a modifier called a mirror modifier. Okay, so I'm just going to select this object, and I'm going to go to add modifier, and we're going to be adding a mirror modifier. Perfect. So for this, now you're going to see that nothing is basically happening, and that's because we haven't really set a a mirror object. Okay, so I'm just going to select this, and I'm going to select the mirror object to this cube. Now the mirror object, what it basically does is that it's the object on which your 3D your mesh is mirrored onto. Okay, so we just set it to our face. Perfect. And now you're going to see that it is mirroring. However, it's mirroring in the wrong axis. So you're going to see that another one of that eye is visible there. So we're going to be deselecting the x-axis, and we're going to be selecting the y-axis. Okay, and I'm going to see that it's going to be perfectly visible. Now I'm just going to go to the side view, and our eyes are not flushed with our face, so I'm just going to flush them in. Perfect. And now I'm just gonna scale them up slightly, ever so slightly. Yep, that's perfect. And apart from that, yeah, let's work on the lips and the eyebrows now. So for the lips and the eyebrows, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be using a torus, okay? And so I'm just going to add a torus, add a mesh, torus, perfect. Now, right now, if I move it forward, you're going to see that it is basically a full torus, right? So I'm just going to be rotate. Actually, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be undoing this, and I'm going to be adding another torus, so that we can actually work with the parameters. So I'm just going to press this button right here, add torus, and now we're going to be basically decreasing the major radius and the minor radius as well. So something like that should be good. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, so now I'm just gonna bring it forward, and I'm gonna see that this is a full torus. So first of all, I'm gonna rotate it in the y-axis, so 90 degrees, and the way I rotate exactly 90 degrees is by holding control on my keyboard. So if I hold control, you're going to see that it's going to rotate in increments of 5, which makes it really easy to rotate it exactly 90 degrees. So once it's done, next up what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be scaling it down, of course, and we're going to be moving it down, something like that. Now the thing is, we want to basically get rid of half of this torus, right? Actually, in fact, a little more than half, right? So what we're going to be doing is that with this torus selected, we're going to be going to edit mode. And here what we can do is that we can select individual edges and we can delete them. Perfect. So I'm just gonna first of all, let's go to X-ray mode, otherwise it's not going to select the edges on the other side. So I'm just going to select something like that maybe. Yeah, actually I'm just going to select even more, so something like that. Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to delete it, vertices, and I'm going to see that we have the smile. Perfect. But the problem with this is that if I turn off the X-ray mode, you're going to see that these ends do not have faces, okay? So to fix that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be alt selecting this edge loop right here, and we're going to be pressing Shift and Alt, and we're going to be selecting this edge loop right here as well. So with these selected, I'm just going to press F on my keyboard. So what that's going to do is that it's going to create a face, okay? And that's exactly what we want. But right now, another problem you're going to be noticing is that it's very sharp and edgy, right? So to fix that, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be adding a a subdivision surface. So I'm just going to go to Add Modifier, and I'm going to add a subdivision surface. And with the selected, I'm just going to increase the viewports, because why not, and the levels to something like, let's say 3, and we're going to be shading it smooth as well to make it perfect. And now let's I think it looks pretty good, and I'm just going to go to the side view, and I'm going to flush it in with the face. Yeah, something like that should be good. Let me just decrease the size, something like that should be good. Now for the eyebrows, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to scale it down even more, because why not. Yeah, so for the eyebrows, I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm going to move it up, and here we are going to be rotating this, so something like 180 degrees should be good. But this, we are going to be decreasing the size even more, and actually we're going to be scaling it up in this axis, because to add some like variation. Yeah, something like that should be good. Let me just move it up. Perfect. Now to add the other eyebrow, I'm going to use another mirror modifier. So I'm just going to select this, and we are going to be going to the Add Modifier menu, Mirror Modifier. Let's set the mirror object to this cube, because we're going to be duplicating this on equally across this cube. And we're just going to deselect the X-axis, and we're going to be selecting the Y-axis, and now you're going to see that it's going to look very good. Perfect. So apart from that, I think our face is basically done, and I'm just going to move it slightly there, because I don't think it was aligned properly. Okay, yeah, so that is done, and let's actually now work on our ears.